Welcome back to Morning Joe. It's 45 past the hour, and here with us now is professor at Columbia University School of International and Public Affairs and former associate political scientist for the Rand Corporation, Austin Long. Austin, good to meet you. And in Washington, Democratic representative from California and ranking member of the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, Congressman Adam Schiff. Adam, if I could start with you on the murder of Boris Nemtsov, where do you take it from here, and what, of course, are your conclusions from the get-go?
Well, it's a terrible tragedy, and we may never know who was responsible or whether the Kremlin's hands are on this. But it is clear, I think, over the last decade or so that a murder of political opponents and journalists goes with impunity. And I think that has to be the responsibility of the Putin government. We're not seeing the same bipolar world we had between capitalism and communism, but we are seeing a new bipolar world, I think, where you have democracy versus authoritarianism. And Russia now is really carrying the mantle for authoritarian regimes, and you're seeing many of Russia's neighbors follow in its footsteps, and that's of grave concern.
Is Putin denouncing the murder along with all the other options he gave for who might have done it, beside himself perhaps being behind it?
Well, Putin is denouncing it and purportedly called the widow, or the mother, rather, of the victim to say that he would bring the killers to justice. But you would expect that from a propaganda point of view.
Right.
The reality is that other political opponents have been murdered, and their prosecutions have never gone forward. And that is very possibly going to be the case here. And there'll probably be a lot of skepticism about who they do arrest, if they make an arrest, and whether they're a fall guy for those who are truly responsible. So we may never know exactly who committed this horrible crime.
Professor Long, if the president called you and said, I want to do everything possible to influence the events in Russia and to try to contain Putin, what would you tell him he could do?
Wow, that's a question. I think, as the congressman mentioned, we're not, back to the Cold War, but things are much more confrontational than they were even 2 or 3 years ago. I think there's a lot the administration can do, but nothing that's going to be decisive. I mean, the critical events.
What's one of the things we can do? Because we've sat by, we've signed a treaty with the Ukraine, say, give us your nuclear weapons. We'll make sure Ukraine remains whole. He violated that. We ignored it. It continues. Obviously, the status quo doesn't work.
I think the status quo doesn't work, but we may be damned if we do, damned if we don't.
So what do we do?
But even on the margins, what could be done?
Well, I mean, the one that's the big topic du jour is arming Ukraine in terms of imposing costs. I don't think that's going to change Russia's policy, but it would impose costs.
What about moving troops into the Balkans just for peacekeeping exercises? Sending a symbolic message to Putin, you put people in the Ukraine, we'll put people in NATO countries, we'll put people in Poland.
I think certainly in the Baltics, the United States already has a presence. We've beefed up the presence there over the past 18 months. I think more of that, is certainly in the cards. There's a lot that can be done in terms of signaling things like that, but I doubt it would be decisive.
Congressman, any thoughts in Congress what kind of unified response we could have?
Well, Joe, I've been advocating for some time that we should provide defensive arms to Ukraine. The administration has given Putin lots of exit ramps. The reality is he doesn't want to take them and hasn't taken them. And while Ukraine will never win a war against Russia, we can impose additional costs. So I think providing those weapons, I think working with Europe to stiffen sanctions even further, and exploring ways we may have to go it alone in terms of increased sanctions are going to be necessary. They won't work in the short term, as we've seen, but over the midterm, I think as Russians continue to feel the downward drag on their economy, they may begin to question whether this adventurism of Putin is such a good idea.
Congressman, let me change topics with you. You going to Benjamin Netanyahu's speech tomorrow?
Yes, I am, and I've been encouraging people to go.
With reservations, or do you think it's a good idea?
Well, with strong reservations. I don't think the Speaker should have ever extended the invitation in the manner that he did, at the time that he did. I think it's been a terrible mistake, and it threatens to erode the strong bipartisan support for Israel and turn it into GOP support for Likud, which would be a tremendous departure from the past and really not in the long-term best interests of either country.
All right, Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you so much. And Austin Long, thank you as well. Nice to meet you.
Thanks a lot.